Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, as we are counting down until 2026 Daytona 500, we are 102 days away. Larry Mack's countdown. By counting down and profiling these car numbers, it kind of gives you kind of some of the history of the sport. Early on, three-digit car numbers were, I'll say, common, but there were a lot of them out there. There's some of the famous ones we've seen. All sevens. There's been ones that were, all threes. And just some of the legends of our sport have driven those numbers. In 1971, Motor Trend 500 Riverside was actually the last race that a triple-digit car number raced in NASCAR Cup Series. In 1972, the modern era, one of the changes was two-digit car numbers. One, for it's easier for the spotters to see. There are bigger numbers on the roof versus the smaller, so with three of them up there. And then as we migrated into electronic scoring, obviously it's a lot simpler with two digits than three. That's why NASCAR at this point in time has two-digit numbers only, but there's 110 different combinations. There's 1 through 99, and then there's 0 through 99, and then there's 00 through 09, which we've seen some of those throughout NASCAR history as well. And as we count down closer to that 2026 Daytona 500, obviously the morning of will be 0 and 00. Car number 102. First race was in Helleberg Raceway, July 15, 1951. The last time the number 102 was used was State Line Speedway, July 16, 1958. 7 races, 2 top 20s. So there's not a lot of stats in some of these triple-digit numbers as we do the countdown. Obviously, I only start with 104, going down to 0. At some point over the next few years, I'm going to research the other triple-digit numbers that we've seen over the years. And just basically lump them all up in a video and work on those. One reason I kind of started this is some of these drivers aren't well known. And on XM NASCAR Radio Speedway with Dave Moody, he does a series called Unfiltered and Legend Series. The very last question he asked everyone on the Legend Series, I think it's Unfiltered the same way, is, we all don't get out of here alive. Someday you'll be gone. How do you want remembered in the sport? And a variety of different answers, but one of my favorites was Richard Petty. And his is, I just want to be remembered. And I thought about that. I'm like, there's so many drivers that laid the groundwork to what we have in NASCAR today. And so it's like, some of these names just need to be remembered. And so I've done some champion profile series, which I'm working on that for next year, all the champions. And then I'm working on different other videos and stuff, and that's probably a year out. I'm great at planning, but I'm not great at execution, so we got to work on that. So Ray Duhigg, 3 races in the car number 102 with no top 20s. Marlon Edwards, 2 races, 1 top 20, excuse me. Bud Gardner, 1 race, 1 top 20. Dan Emus, 1 race, no top 20s. So again, not a lot of stats. That's pretty much it for the car number 102. I know there's a lot of talk right now in the NASCAR world of playoffs, no playoffs. Denny Hamlin, his talk, he doesn't really want to race next year, and I see people can blame the car, blaming NASCAR. I'm like, no, dude, that's personal. That's his dad. He grew up with his dad. He grew up racing because of his dad. His dad and mom sacrificed everything to give him this chance, and now he's got this chance. He wanted to win that championship for his dad. It didn't happen, and I'm going to say failed, but it didn't happen. I understand that completely. It's like, that's just that personal. I had watched the race from behind, and I think it was 40 to go, or before the 44 spot, before that caution. And I was before that caution, and I looked at the results. I'm like, oh, Larson was 3rd, Hamlin was 6th. Okay, Larson's champion. I wonder what happened. So I'm watching the race going, oh yeah, that guy hit me in the gut. I'm a Hamlin fan. It's like, whoa, 3 laps to go. And all these people talk about, well, NASCAR ruined NASCAR because of grailing checkers. NASCAR's ruined because of this, because of this, because of this. No, everyone knows the rules going in. Everyone knew in this race, because of the way the overtime rule is, till you take that white flag, it ain't over. But here's the thing: I can see it, and I've seen it before, and heard people talk on, some people post stuff online. Do you know what would have happened if we didn't have the overtime rule, and it was the same rules as back in the day? When Byron hit the wall with 3 laps to go, they threw the yellow flag. They're not going to be able to get it restarted. Race is over. Into the caution. Denny Hamlin's your champion. You know how many people would say NASCAR threw that caution just so Denny Hamlin would be champion because of the lawsuit? Everybody has to cut down people that they're not other people. And I've noticed this a lot online. People have to attack people that, well, he's not a deserving champion. He's not my champion. What? Huh? If you had full season points, which a lot of people want, which NASCAR said, Steve O'Donnell had said that the goal is to get the industry to buy in, get the fans to buy in. So I think at this point the only buy-in is going to be the full season points, which is fine. I have no issue with that. There really wouldn't have been that big. I mean, you have a small competition there at the end for the championship, but Kyle still would have won, based on what we've seen of the stats, which obviously everybody races differently. Those stats would have changed just a little bit more than likely, but yeah, Denny wouldn't have been any competition for the championship. So if we're heartbroken and we think the system's broken because of Denny Hamlin, it's not the case. Oh, Connor Zealous on Saturday, yeah. 10 wins and he didn't win the championship. Well, I mean, you might want to ask Jeff Gordon about that. You might want to ask Rusty Wallace about that. You might want to ask Bill Elliott about that. All of them won 10 races and didn't win a championship. Bill Elliott, 1785 days, was pretty damn dominant, and he didn't win the championship. Yeah, no. Ryan Newman won 8 races in 2003 and didn't win the championship, and the champion had 1 race. Yeah, there's a problem. And a lot of people, I saw somebody actually comment on something this morning. Somebody said that one of NASCAR's issue is they've had a 1-race champion. Which one? The 1951 or the 1961 or 1973 or 2003? Which champion? Which 1-win champion was the issue? And then people, complain about that. And I'm like, well, wasn't the true height of NASCAR 2004 through 2007? Yeah, there's a playoff during that area too, which is called the Chase. Yeah, let's not let stats get involved. And I've seen other people in this comment, the one I commented on earlier. OEM they talked about, Taurus, 4-door Taurus came in, and that was back in the 90s. That was an OEM thing, not NASCAR. Yeah. I think the NASCAR's rule is it has to be a production car, and it can't be out of production for more than 3 years. I believe that's what their actual rule is. And everybody's talking about Chevrolet. Well, technically, the Monte Carlo or the Camaro hasn't been out of production for more than 3 years. December of 2014 or 2024, I believe, was the last Camaro made. So technically, if it can't be made, it's 3 model years later. I think that's what the rule is. That covers 24, 20, 25, 26, 27. So technically, Chevrolet GM doesn't have to do anything until 27. But I think, don't quote me on that. I just think I heard that. I don't know. There's just a lot going on in the industry right now. I don't think NASCAR is dead by no means. I think the industry has changed, yes. NASCAR of today is not the NASCAR, not your grandfather's NASCAR. This car, yes, is more of a sports car than any NASCAR car has ever been. You have to remember, the technology in the chassis didn't really change a lot from the 50s, 60s, 70s, or 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and then after this car. A lot of the technology was basically older technology. What this car is, and it's getting better, and NASCAR is working to improve it, not as fast as people want. People want change like that. Change doesn't happen like that, especially in NASCAR. Not in normal world stuff. But this car will migrate more. Year 4. Is it right? Yeah, this was year 4 of this car. We've seen changes in this time. Yes, there was some early on safety stuff they had to work on, and they did work on it. They did address it. drivers say some of the hits are harder in this car than other cars. Yeah, those hits look hard. I think they'll be hard in a lot of cars, not just this car. There's been a couple hits. Ryan Blaney had a couple of really hard hits. And one of them was, I actually watched a lot of people put videos side by side of the Ryan Blaney crash at Daytona a couple of years ago to the 2001 Daytona 500 Dale Earnhardt crash. There's a lot of similarities in those two crashes, but there's a huge big difference. One walked away going, whoa, that hurt. The other one didn't. Safety came a long way. The, quote, safer barrier, the technology in the car, helmet, the Hans device, all that. Yeah. So we haven't had a tragedy in 24 years. Safety first. And some people don't understand that, I think, or they want the rawness of what some of that was in the 80s and 90s, but you can't have it today. And another reason today's different than back then. Back then, you had kids growing up building their own car. So a kid turned 16, parents had to just go out and buy them a car, spend $15,000, $20,000 on a car. Those kids had to buy a $500 car, go to the junkyard, fix it up, and then work to do things to their car. You had the Camaros, the Novas, and all that. You know, I can remember a time when I was in high school, and matter of fact, I was a freshman in high school, I believe, and I had my brother's friend had a Cherry Red Nova. It was built up. His dad built it, and him and his dad built it, and it was pretty badass. And it was one of those, you know, you hear it and your head turns. And there was another guy at school that had a Trans Am, I think it was, and he was pretty popular, and it was pretty built too. And I told my brother I wanted him and his friend to pick me up during summer school in the Nova, and my brother and his friend agreed, and this guy that had the Trans Am was standing there, had the hood up on it, and everybody's walking over, everybody's around it and everything talking, and you hear this Nova pull in, and all these heads turn like, what's he doing here? Everybody knew who he was, knew the car, and I get in, and we leave, and he takes me home, and all these people look at me the next day, I get to school, and all these people who I knew of me but didn't know who I was, didn't know me, were like, how do you know Brian? How do you know him? I'm like, he's a friend of my brother. Who's your brother? I told him, like, oh, that's your brother? I'm like, yeah, that's my brother. Oh wow, okay, yeah, you know you're his brother. It's like, so yeah, I mean, those cars don't happen today. So that's what the point is here. Those kind of cars you don't see today in the school parking lot. Most of the cars today the parents buy. So there's a disconnect to what built NASCAR and how NASCAR got started to what it is today. Today you have the iRacers like a William Byron. You still have some guys coming through different local and moving on up, but not the age isn't as young. You don't have 50 people doing that now versus back then you had 200 people doing it kind of deal. So. But I think NASCAR is in the right direction. I think there are going to be changes for next year, which is great, and I'll talk about those here as well. But we are 102 days away from the 500, and it is November 5th, 2025. A lot's going to happen in the next 102 days. We're going to get a lot of news from NASCAR. We're going to get changes. We all know that coming. We know there's a lawsuit with NASCAR and the two teams, and we know everyday details come out about that, and I think that's leading toward a settlement. I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, and I would assume the end result in that would have to be probably guaranteed charters, and I don't know what else, maybe some change in the money so the teams make more. I just don't know where. Obviously, I have to ratify all the other charter agreements. I do think that 2311 and Front Row do keep their charters when this is all done. I don't think they're going to have to rebuy them or anything. I know we got Ram in the Truck Series. I know there's rumors of Dodge. They haven't officially announced it yet, but obviously they're setting stuff up for that. It's going to be Cullick is going to be the lead team, it looks like, which is cool for them. What I foresee 2027 NASCAR landscape, I'm working on a schedule for that, and I got a hell of an idea. Rickwell Racing will have 3 charters given to him by NASCAR. NASCAR has 4 charters for the new OEM, they said. I think Colic gets 1. That gives them 3. And then Rick Ware Racing gets 3. That's the 4. You'll have 6 Dodge teams in 2027, if not 2028, in the Cup Series. You'll have 3. One of the Rick Ware charters will get sold to Lacey Motor Club. We already know that for 2027. I think the other one, which is currently going to be leased to RFK for that car number 60, I think there is plans in 2027 for that charter to be sold to RFK. So I think if Dodge isn't in NASCAR in 2027, I think you'll see Rick Ware Racing, or the new owner, whatever they're going to call it, kind of lame 27 might be that kind of part-time season for them, and then full-time in 28. Depends on when Dodge comes in. Just my speculation, just my thought process of things I've seen in here. But anyway, that is kind of some of the news right now and everything, as we are 102 days away. We've profiled car number 102. As always, thanks for watching Robert Sports Show. Don't just have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader in sports channel content.